Here.
Vice Mayor Smaglia.
Here.
Commissioner Vignola.
Present.
Commissioner Daly.
Here.
Commissioner Carter. City Manager Goodrum.
Here.
Present. City Attorney Hearn.
Here.
Okay, folks, I'd like to just take a moment of silence if we could. Thank you. We're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance, and we're proud to have Zoe Goby, who informs me she's a fourth grader at Park Springs Elementary.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Zoe. Hold on 1 second. Got a little prize for you. Have a nice T-shirt for you. That says, "I led the Pledge of Allegiance at the City Commission meeting in the City of Coral Springs." Thank you. By the way, don't get older too quickly. Stay young. Representative Moskowitz is on my agenda for next, but he's not here. So if we could, let's proceed. Commissioner Vignola, if we could, I'll take you out of place, if you're ready.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. Yeah.
Larry, would you like this? Okay.
Coming up, guys. So these are two of the students that worked on this year's Teen Political Forum. Sybil's coming in, you're coming up. Come on. Do we? Just Sybil. So this year's Teen Political Forum obviously was a little different. The kids worked really hard taking the event in one direction, and then we kind of had to change everything that we were working on and planning, our video, all that stuff. These kids worked really hard to make sure that the event was a success in the climate of our area over the past couple months. Very, very proud of them. We had a completely packed house. We had media inquiries while they were going through their rehearsals and stuff, and they handled everything without a glitch, and it was one of the most successful events I can remember. And I've been doing this, I think, 6 years, something like that. So congratulations to you. Joyce has certificates for you guys. I'd like to read one of them. Here, I'll read yours. This is for all three of them. It's a special recognition from the City of Coral Springs. This one says to Sybil, "Thank you for your outstanding efforts and dedication in making the 2018 Teen Political Forum such a success," and it's signed by the mayor and the rest of the commission. I'll give that one to you. And then, I would love you, one of the moderators, would you like to say a few words?
Yeah, sure. Teen Political Forum this year was an amazing event. It was one of the highlights of my senior year. Obviously, I'm gonna go to college next year. I'm gonna miss things like this. Coral Springs is the only city that has a Teen Political Forum. So to be able to be, a huge part of it this year was a really satisfying experience. And obviously, winning for my school was fun, but I feel like the thing that was most gratifying for me was the fact that we got so many people to come. And even for like a brief moment, people were interested in city government, and that felt really good. Just for maybe 2 hours they were into it, but that was a good feeling for me.
Well, I think that in the light of everything that's happened, it was a great way to get everyone together and really have their voices heard and get their opinions across. And honestly, it was one of the best things I've ever been a part of ever since I've lived in Coral Springs, and I'm definitely going to remember this. And, we had a great team, we had a great year, so I'm excited for the next years to come, yeah.
take the photo or?
Why don't you guys push over there for a second? We got somebody else? Come on up here. Let's do that.
Okay, and now we would like to get our two sponsors up here on stage. Waste Pro, who offered $1,000 to the school with the largest attendance. Thank you very much.
So hard to wait this, bro.
Thank you. Mr. Bowers. And from Baptist Health,
Before we get on to that, let me just read this. Thank you for your sponsorship of the 2018 Teen Political Forum in Coral Springs. We appreciate your continuing support of our community events. And Tim, we do thank you. And let you say a couple words.
Thank you, Mayor. This event is very special every year. We've done this, I think, 4 years and provided this $1,000 sponsorship. And it seems to grow every year. The kids are so excited about everything. It's just an event filled with enthusiasm, and we're very proud to be a part of it. Thank you.
Okay. We can be a dual team.
Is this on? There we go. I just want to thank you. I know you've been, like you said, you've been sponsoring for a number of years now. And when I first took over this event, we'd hover somewhere around 350 kids coming out to the event. And every year, the teachers that showed up, the principals, the students were like, oh, we wish we would have known about this. We wish, we did this the year before, because they didn't know about it. So one of the things that we did different was with the sponsorships that we've gotten, making a little bit of a competition amongst the principals to get that money into the schools, and that's really helped them advertise the event and brought more kids out. So thank you guys very, very much for your sponsorship.
All right, now let's give the check to. We're not done yet. I know we're going to do one at a time. Oh, one at a time. Okay. We want to make it a little special. Tim, if you could, why don't you present? Now, who's here from Coral Springs Charter? You all are. Who's going to take the check? Where's Mr. Springer? Is he not here?
But we also have the other thing, yeah. They got loose sometime. Navarro, I guess it's going to be one thing. And then use the photo. There you go. I'm going to put the new plate on it today. So.
Okay. All right, now, for the second sponsor, it was Baptist Health South Florida, and we'd like to thank you for your sponsorship of the 2018 Teen Political Forum. I don't have this memorized, in Coral Springs. We greatly appreciate your continuing support for our community events. And this is Kate, who represents Baptist. So, Kate.
Thank you, Mayor. Definitely appreciate it. This was our second year participating in the Teen Political Forum, and we were very honored to do so and are happy to be part of this community and want to show the community that we are part of the community and intend on remaining part of the community, and the youth in our community is really our future, and we recognize that. So we're very proud of these high-achieving young individuals.
And this one goes to Taravella, JP, and I'm told someone's going to be here to accept it. Yeah.
And I want to thank you, because the second place, there's been quite a few times, it's all based off of attendance and how many kids show. And there's been quite a few times where it's been a difference of like 7 students. So the kids that lose are always like, oh, we were this close. So thank you very much. That's something that's really neat. And so we do really, really appreciate it. So thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, guys. All right, you guys. Thank you very much. And you can shake the hands of the other commissioners if you want. No, you can't shake anybody's hand.
How you doing? How you doing, buddy? Great job, kid.
I just want to apologize. I came here for this, but I'm heading over to Plantation. They have the school security meeting over in Plantation High School, so I'm going to be calling in on the ride over there. So in a minute, I'm not disappearing, but I'll be over the phone here.
Before you go, Mr. Mayor, if I can jump in, I
Yes.
just want to commend Commissioner Vignola, the committee, the sponsors. You know, I think most of the folks here know that the Team Political Forum is near and dear to me. I literally would not be seated here today if it was not for the Team Political Forum. I met my future boss, Representative Ari Porth, in 2008 as a senior at Douglas. So I'm a huge fan, and to see what you and the students have accomplished, particularly in this year, a really difficult year, is extremely commendable, and thank you for all you guys do.
The next, first of all, I'd like to bring a young man up that gave a speech with me at Ramblewood Elementary School. Justin, you want to come on up here for a second and bring your mom and your grandma and your grandpa? That's next. This young man gave a great speech about autism to a lot of little kids. They're preschools, first graders, and he has a lot to say. And second graders. And I was impressed, and I'd like to give him a couple minutes so he can talk to you all. We're going to go to autism awareness, but I think that Justin is the epitome of a child that has been diagnosed with autism and that has succeeded, will succeed, and he tells me he wants to be mayor.
Well, not necessarily. I told you I was related to the first mayor of Fort Lauderdale. All right. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Justin Salonia. Yes, it is true. The people at Ramblewood Elementary were nice enough to host me and Mayor Campbell to have a meeting on autism awareness. Now, as I said before in the speech prior, autism is nothing to be sad about. It's nothing to be afraid of. It's prestige. It's something that helps your personality. On another note, I would also like to just commend the fact that on the extra good news today, since we are in the state of Florida after all, for the Hispanic community, that I've heard that Raul Castro has stepped down from office, so Cuba Libre. And I would like to just thank the entire city of Coral Springs, as well as everybody in the community who helps pitch out to this. If it weren't for the fundings that would help for autism awareness, we would have still been in 2008 level poverty. Thank you.
Justin, I'd like to give you this special recognition. Thank you for showing us that we can accomplish everything when we work hard and with passion. Good luck in all your future endeavors. Thank you for being a vital member of the Coral Springs community. Now, I want you to stay up here for a minute. Let's get a picture of us first. Family. Great. Now, I want you to stay here because this is also Autism Awareness Month. And we have some other folks that I want to invite up here to accept an Autism Awareness Month proclamation from the city. Come on up. Who else is supposed to come up this? Abby's place? There they are. And this is Michelle, and I'm going to just say Miller because Jennifer. You know, many, many years ago, I was a pre-med student and actually did research on autism in 1968 at the University of Florida. Autism was not diagnosed until 1944. And now 1 in 68 of our children are diagnosed as having autism. And we have to recognize that this is a societal problem, but it's a societal issue that we can conquer. And this is just an example of how we have conquered. And what I'd like to do is read this Autism Awareness Month. We recognize that autism is a complex mental condition and developmental disability characterized by difficulties in a way a person communicates and interacts with other people. While there is no cure for autism, it is well documented that individuals with autism who receive treatment early in their lives can reduce their symptoms and improve their life functions. With this proclamation, we can renew our commitment to support the entire autism community, including children and adults with autism, their families, and caregivers. Together, we can increase access to information, encourage heightened understanding, promote respect and dignity, and support the services that assist people with autism to reach their potential. Therefore, we, the City of Coral Springs, proclaim April 2018 as Autism Awareness Month. Michelle?
Okay. All right, my name is Michelle Van Niekerk Miller. I'm the occupational therapist at Abby's Place. I've been there about 3.5 years, and I think about 50% of my clientele at Abby's Place, as well as my outpatient services, are children with autism. And over the years, we focus a lot on meaningful activities for the child. The child is here at the end of the day to integrate into their life as much as possible through play, through work, through friendships, through daily activities. And it really brings a lot of joy to my heart because I've seen these children all thrive and develop. And we have a cluster at Abby's Place that is autistic, and they do really well. And this is Jennifer. She's our behavioral specialist and director.
Thank you. As Michelle said, we kind of embrace all those special characteristics that we find within our community, including autism, as well as other disabilities, whether it be medical, developmental, intellectual. So we're super honored to be here to receive this, especially knowing that we've now made April an entire month of autism awareness, not just the one day. So thank you guys for that. Without you guys, it wouldn't be possible. So thank you.
We're going to do one more, and then I'm going to have Representative Moskowitz talk to us. And I'd ask that Andrew Leone please step forward. Andrew? Leone. Andrew, welcome. Come on over here. You know, funny thing is that one of the doctors, an orthopedic surgeon's name is Leone. Yes, he's a very good orthopedic surgeon. This proclamation concerns child abuse and child abuse prevention, which April is National Child Abuse Prevention Month, a time to recognize that we each can play a part in promoting the social and emotional well-being of children and families in our community. This month and throughout the year, the Children's Services Council of Broward County encourages all individuals and organizations to play a role in making Broward a better place for children and families. We encourage all residents to join us in renewing our commitment, learning what we can do to promote the safety and well-being of our children. Working together, we can end abuse and neglect so that every child has a chance to dream big. Therefore, the City Commission of Coral Springs proclaims April 2018 as Child Abuse Prevention Month.
Thank you very much. Mr. Mayor, Commissioner Daly, thank you for sponsoring, commissioners, city officials. I'm Andrew Leone, Director of Communication and Community Engagement for the Children's Services Council of Broward County. I also chair the Broward Aware Protecting Our Children campaign. On behalf of our President and CEO at the Children's Services Council, Cindy Ehrenberg-Seltzer, and the entire committee of the Broward Aware campaign, which is a 4-month campaign that culminates in April during Child Abuse Prevention Month, with a series of activities that are intended to raise awareness about the resources and the information that is available to help prevent child abuse and neglect. I thank you. I thank the city of Coral Springs for the proclamation, and thank you very much. Thank you. Let's get a picture. Yes.
We're not done with proclamations because we have the Lynn Johnson Volunteer Awards, which we're going to do next. But today we're proud to have our state representative, Jared Moskowitz, here. And Jared's going to give us an update as to what's going on in Tallahassee, or what isn't going on in Tallahassee, and how the cities have either dodged a bullet or were hit with a bullet. Representative Moskowitz, thank you for coming.
Mayor, thank you. Commissioners, it's good to be with you. This is my first time in the new building.
Nice.
And, you know, it's not bad. It's not bad. Considering you could fit a maximum of 20 people in the commission chambers previously, this seems like a much necessary and needed improvement. So the building is beautiful. For the 11th largest city in the state. It's been a long time coming. And so congratulations. I think the building came out fantastic. And I will tell you, I think this building went up pretty quick. I remember every time I drove past this building, like every couple weeks, I think I kept saying to Skip, I go, what's going on? You guys are the only one like building on schedule. It felt like this thing kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So.
And within budget.
Well, fair enough. Good luck with the new building. And I think actually there's even a space here for legislators to move into City Hall. And so I think when my lease is up, if I get reelected, I'll move my office here for the next 2 years. I'm looking into that. So, you know, I know a bunch of different legislators are coming, and your senators will come, and they're going to give a presentation. And so, you know, rather than repeating, you know, here were the 5 bills or 6 bills, session for me basically started February 15th. Everything kind of before then is kind of a blur for me. You know, obviously there were some things that occurred before February 15th that we care about. You know, one obviously was 7055, which was the big education bill. I voted against that bill. That included the Hope Scholarship, which is going to take public dollars and allow kids to move out of public schools if they feel that they're bullied, into private charter or parochial schools. And I think it's a good idea, except the bill does nothing with the bullies. And I had filed an amendment to say, well, look, if a child's being bullied and that child needs to move for their own safety, good idea. But we should also do something with the bully. Shouldn't we move the bully out of the school? But no, the bill leaves the bully in place. And in fact, what's going to happen, and not that I was a bully, but I'll think like a bully for 2 seconds. If a bully sees that he can get Tommy out of the school by bullying him, you empower the bully. And really, it wasn't about kids that are being bullied and getting them out to a safer space. What it was a backdoor voucher program, taking public dollars so that kids could go to private school. which is something the voters rejected, as you know, Mayor, all too well, which is why I voted against it. If, obviously, we were dealing with the bullies and we were providing relief for kids that are being bullied, it would have been a fantastic program I would have loved to have supported. The reason I bring that bill up, obviously, is that bill is part of what has led to this big conversation about how we did not have a major increase in a per-student funding in education this year. We got, I think, 42 cents more than last year. So everyone got to say, and everyone will say in their mailer come November, we increased education spending. Yeah, by 42 cents. Fantastic. It's not even a cent a week in education. Let me now fast forward a little bit. Let me skip out of order because right now there's a big discussion going on about gaming in Tallahassee. Are we going to have a special session on gaming? You might have read about it. The reason that conversation is happening is twofold. One, because there's an issue on the ballot regarding gaming, which is to take that away from the legislature and give it directly to the voters. The reason is that the legislature for 5 years now has failed to do the appropriate things that are necessary on gaming. But the second reason is because they want to take that money that they might be able to get through expansion of gaming, although they will label it contraction, it will be expansion, of course, to take that new money and put it into education. So I think there's a recognition that there was a failure to adequately increase spending. We're, I think, $3,000 or $4,000 below the national average on a per pupil spending. We're also $6,000 less on teacher salary. And so, that may happen, but it's going to be tied to whether we do something on gaming to bring in an additional $250 or $300 million. There were some wacky things we did in the House, of course. We do every year, things we pick up that the Senate doesn't pick up. There was sanctuary cities, which was a bill that passed the House. I voted against it. I'm not going to spend any time on it because it was a dead bill from the day it was proposed. It was just meant to red meat for the base, for folks that care about that issue. Doesn't affect my district or this area at all. Another one, which was a favorite of mine that I had fun with amendments on, was that they passed a resolution declaring pornography a health crisis. Of course, we've not done that for cancer, right? We've not done that for any disease you can think about. Not a one. Anything. Zika was not declared a health crisis by the legislature, but we declared pornography a health crisis by resolution. I bring that up because before February 15th, unfortunately in the legislature, we like to spend a lot of time doing these bills for special interests that help different folks raise money or catapult themselves to a higher office, which have no bearing. And everything kind of is brought now back to focus for me, both as your state representative and personally, on February 15th. So as you all know, the 7026, I think is the bill number, which is the Marjory Stoneman Douglas School Safety Act, which passed, which I was happy to vote for. I voted for it. The other representative, Coral Springs, Kristen Jacob, voted for it, and your two senators voted for it. Out of this area, did not receive many votes from folks in Broward County. In fact, the Democratic caucus took a position against the bill. I had to break with the caucus to go vote for the bill. Just be clear, the reason I voted for it, Mayor and Commission, is because I knew that it was too important that in 20 years we had not been able to do anything on the issue of gun proliferation, and that the NRA has used Florida as its petri dish to experiment with these ideas to roll it out. And I knew that because for the last 6 years I've been battling Marion Hammer, who was the former national president of the NRA, who is now located in Florida, and all these ideas like open carry and concealed weapons permit and all these things. These are things that have come from her that have been rolled out elsewhere in the country. Stand Your Ground started here in Florida. It's now in 30+ states. And I knew that this opportunity would not come again. And even though I hated this Guardian program or whatever poll-tested word they wanted to use to label it, and I filed both amendments to take it out, both in committee and on the floor. I knew ultimately, based on my conversations, that most counties would not opt into this program. Even counties that opted in, most teachers would not opt into this program. Teachers don't have enough money to buy pencils, let alone now becoming a security guard for no increased pay. I also knew that the governor's office would take the money eventually out of that program and move it into SROs, and the governor made that announcement when he signed the bill. So I think what you're going to find in the totality of when this bill on the gun issue and on the Guardian issue in this bill a year from now when we look back is that the Guardian program will almost be nowhere, but the gun control will be everywhere. And that's how I looked at it, and it was a balance for me. And Mayor, when you were a senator, there are no perfect bills. There's good stuff in bills, there's bad stuff in bills. There's a lot of great stuff in the $89 billion budget. There's a lot of stuff that wasn't in the budget. There's money that was spent that I didn't like. There's no such thing. And so I voted for it in the totality. Obviously, as you all know, we'll soon be getting a new building at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas that'll be built on the other side of campus. That was funded by the legislature. And additionally, obviously, $100 million for school hardening and $100 million for SROs. Broward, I'm sure, will have, come July 1st when the new budget kicks in, I'm sure Broward will have their applications in for the grant money on both SROs and on school hardening, and I have no doubt that we'll be at the forefront to get that money. So that $400 million came from somewhere, obviously. So I was one of the first folks to come forward and say publicly that I thought it should come from member projects. We spend about $600 million a year on member projects, and rather than taking it from education or from these other areas that we care about, I thought, you know what, it needs to come from member projects. Lord knows not all member projects are created equal. There are some very important water improvement projects that need to get done in the state, road improvement projects, hardening of facilities that need to get done, but there are also some that aren't necessary, like beautification and fountains. They could wait a year. And so I advocated for that, and that's why, as you know, unfortunately, we didn't get a lot funded as far as projects for the city of Coral Springs this year. I worked with Candace hand in hand to the last hour, trying to figure out ways to maneuver, trying to figure out what the governor might not veto. If you remember in the past, I have filed 2 years in a row the road repaving for University Drive. The governor vetoed it 2 years in a row. We eventually got it into FDOT's 5-year plan, so that will wind up happening just in a different route rather than in a member project. And so, next year my pledge is, with the new speaker, Jose Oliva, coming in, and Travis Cummings, the new, most likely appropriations chair, as Carlos Trujillo, who's the current appropriations chair, is now the ambassador in Washington, D.C. to the American states, appointed obviously by Donald Trump. I'll be working with Travis. I'll have the same relationship with him as I did with Carlos to try to make sure that the 11th largest city gets something to the tune of the 11th largest city. And so we'll just have to be smart, and we'll vet these projects earlier on in the process, and that's what Candace and I have talked about. And she does a great job for the city of Coral Springs up in Tallahassee. She's there every single solitary day. She's there in every committee and talking to folks on both sides of the aisle. I mean, let's be clear, unless I'm talking to my friends across the aisle, I can't get anything done. For the last 2 years, they've defunded about $10 million worth of projects in Broward County that I have to go and use my relationships with the chairman to get back in. I'm the ranking member for the Democrats on appropriations. They'll come out with a policy that just says we're cutting off food programs, and the next thing you know, there's a Broward senior homelessness program, feeding program, or kosher meal program that gets funded. Holocaust funding for the museum got defunded. All of that stuff gets defunded, and then we have to go and get it back into the budget. It was over $10 million this year in senior services, feeding programs, and important education museum funding that they've cut year after year. There's some other things that I can go over. I mean, I'll tell you where I think gaming stands at the moment. As of last night, it stood nowhere. Depending upon who you talk to and when you talk to them and what day and in the hour you speak to them, we're having a special session, we're not having a special session. I can tell you in the month of April, there will be no special session. So if a special session is not called within the first 2 weeks of May, we will not have a special session on gaming. What can you look for if there is a special session? I think you'll see decoupling for the pari-mutuels. I think you'll see additional slot machines for the pari-mutuels. I think even there'll be discussion of a new facility within Broward County, potentially out by the Panther Arena. And so while there'll be no direct impact to the city of Coral Springs, because even though obviously we receive traffic and I think we get a little bit of revenue from the Seminoles out from the Coconut Creek facility, I'll be fighting to make sure that that stays, and whatever new deal comes forward, that the municipalities that receive revenue don't lose that revenue. But there'll be no increase at the property in Coconut Creek. That property won't be impacted by any of the discussions. You know, there's other things I can talk about. I mean, I can obviously, you know, talk about, you know, a lot of the other bills. I just didn't want to be repetitive because I know obviously you're getting 3 or 4 presentations. We banned child marriage this year, just in case you were concerned about that. Apparently that was an issue. I was unaware of it, but now it's illegal to go marry a 15-year-old. But we got that done, so congratulations to us. Apparently it's been difficult to get done over the last couple of years because we finally passed the bill. What else do we got? Back to scale school holiday. We pass that every year. What will be on the ballot coming forward, we didn't pass it this year, it passed last year, is the property tax relief. I know obviously that's, you know, depending upon who I talk to, that's a great idea or a terrible idea based on the amount of millions it's going to cost cities. Obviously, as a former city commissioner myself, I understand that, you know, what the legislature has done to all of these cities, right? You got to roll back your rates. You can't increase any fees. And oh, by the way, now we're going to take even more money away from you. And we're going to have all these things that we're not going to fund anymore, like road repaving projects and water projects that you guys are going to have to do, and there's less money to do it with. And so, you know, we'll have to see how the voters vote on that issue. Transportation bill died again, same the thing that happened last year. You know, in my opinion, that's a good thing. There was a lot of, you know, bad stuff in the transportation bill, a lot of wasted money, a waste of taxpayer dollars. Assignment of benefits issue, which I know maybe some of you get calls on, you know, assignment of benefit fraud, issues with the insurance company. Again, for the second year in a row, we did not do anything with that. We passed a slavery memorial, which I thought was extremely important. We tried to pass that last year. And we actually couldn't get that done because there were folks in the Senate who thought that it was unnecessary. And so if we were able to work that out, and there'll be a slavery memorial that will be built in Tallahassee. I mean, if I'm being honest, we didn't really do too much in Tallahassee this year, and that's par for the course because it's an election year. Mayor, as you recall, you know, when it's an election year, especially when it's a big election, you got the governor and the whole cabinet, or the whole House up for re-election and a bunch of senators, it's do no harm is the first rule.
I think it's best that Florida goes to a biennial type of relationship where you only meet every 2 years.
Yeah, so Texas has that actually. Texas has.
I know. We talked about it when I was up there, that would probably save the people of Florida a lot of grief.
Yeah, listen, you know, I don't have any problem meeting. It would just be nice if there were more moderates up there so that we could actually compromise and get things done rather than be in our partisan corners. But, you know, going into next session, obviously, it's a whole new ballgame. We've had the same governor for 8 years now. We're going to have a new governor. We've had the same cabinet for 8 years now. We're going to have a new cabinet. We're going to have a new speaker. We're going to have a new Senate president. And there'll probably be some difference in the numbers, although I don't think you'll see, in my opinion, the House and the Senate changing parties, at least in 18. And, you know, so with that, you know, you know, unlike when I go and talk about, obviously, 7026 and the bill and what I think it means to the state, and obviously what it means to the community, you guys obviously know that. I will tell you that within the first week of that bill becoming law, the red flag portion of the bill that takes guns out of the hands of folks that are harm to themselves or harm to others, that took guns out of the hands of somebody in Lighthouse Point who said he was a member of Al-Qaeda and had tried to turn the lights off to his entire condo building and was found with an arsenal of weapons. And then there was a student in Orlando that said he wanted to go shoot up his school, and he was found with guns, and they took those guns away from him as well. I imagine we'll come back to that bill next year. There'll be some tweaks, there'll be some loopholes that are found that we'll have to fix. And then the last thing I'll just conclude, obviously, is there's a lawsuit going on with the bill. The NRA has filed a lawsuit saying that the constitutional rights of folks under the age of 21 to go buy a handgun or a semi-automatic weapon have been obviously abridged based on the passing of this. We'll have to see how the courts handle that. That issue will not get solved under this Attorney General. That'll get solved under the next Attorney General, because obviously whatever the ruling is at the lower court, that's going to be appealed all the way up until the Supreme Court takes the case or does not. And with that, Mayor and Commissioners and Mr. Manager, I'm more than happy to answer any questions from this session, concerns, things coming up potentially for next year.
I think the audience can see when you hear about a bill, you don't really realize what goes into these bills and how difficult it is to represent people in Broward County. I do want to thank you for what you've done. Anybody have a question?
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, if I can jump in.
Commissioner Daly.
Representative, thank you as always for fighting the good fight. You know, I mentioned it when Representative Jacobs was here a couple weeks ago. It is not a great environment in so many senses of the word, from trying to get things done, trying to be productive, trying to fight the bad stuff, trying to get the good stuff through the process, whatever it is. It's a tremendous challenge, and you're always up there on our behalf. We appreciate all that you do, working with Candace and so many others. You know, because a lot of times, folks, it's not what the legislature does, but sometimes it's more important what they don't do, or what we're able to prevent them from doing. And Representative, you've always been spot on with that. And I want to highlight the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas Public Safety Act for a second, because I know that was a tremendously difficult issue going through the process. I'm proud of our representatives. I'm proud of you, Representative Jacobs, Senator Book, Senator Rader, who all had backbone to support it and to not play a political game with it. Was it perfect? No. Did it go far enough? No. But as you already alluded to, it is probably the largest retreat for the NRA in Florida ever. You know, when the NRA has chipped away at reasonable restrictions so much so that they've run out of things to do, they've come up with stupid ideas like docs and Glocks, where they prevent pediatricians from asking if there's a gun in the home to make sure it's in a lockbox, right? When they've restricted and tied the hands of local governments across the state from even having a conversation about weapons, they've literally run out of things to do. And so this swings the pendulum just a little bit back in the right direction. And so that, you know, I certainly appreciate it. I know we all do. So thank you very much for all that you're doing up there.
No, I appreciate that. I mean, I'll be brief, Mr. Mayor, because I know you have a full agenda, but I'll take a moment of personal privilege. I mean, you know, Commissioners, you know, you were up there obviously as an aide to Ari Porth. You know, the Democrats have been in the minority for a long period of time. I will tell you that on this bill, it was a flip of the switch. The script was, I wasn't fighting with Republicans, I was fighting with Democrats. You know, what the reason why folks like myself and Kristen and others, there were 6 other Democrats that broke with the caucus position that are not from this area. And the idea that my own party would try to tie my hands when I got 17 families that have coalesced around the bill. I can't imagine I mean, I can't get 17 people to agree on anything, usually. To get 17 grieving families around one piece of legislation because they know it's the only opportunity to get it done, I was not going to let them down. I put that thing on my back, as many others did as well. And obviously to have my own parties basically say, we're going to put a procedural move on you that locks you down on your vote. You know, when I take issue with Republicans for doing things like that, then I'm a hypocrite if I don't say that when my party does it, I'm not going to call them out. And so I did. And so that's why folks like myself and Kristen went and tried to put a coalition of Democrats together. To be clear, without Democrats, that bill doesn't pass. And the Republicans would not have let it fail. What they would have done is they would have passed less, right? So if they didn't have the votes for this, they would have taken out the 3-day waiting period and passed it with less. They would have taken out red flag law and they would have passed it with less, because you're not going to let the new speaker's bill fail. This idea that, well, we could have gotten more Okay, I was at every single solitary meeting. I didn't sleep for 2 weeks. If I thought I could get more, if I thought I can get an assault weapons ban, I would have gotten it. Okay, this idea that, well, if the governor will veto the bill and we'll be back in special session. Well, did he veto it? No, he didn't. Okay, he signed it. So, you know, sometimes there are folks that want to play partisan politics, and of those that did on this bill, I think history will show that they made a mistake. Washington is going to do nothing on this issue. This was the one opportunity. And so, you know, those kids and those parents who came up to Tallahassee 2 or 3 days after putting their kids in the ground, and a week after these kids ran out of the building to go up there and become lobbyists for legislation. I never saw anything like it in my life, and I was going to be on the right side of this one. So with that, thank you. I am more than willing to come back anytime, and so I just appreciate the opportunity to represent the place where I was born, although I was born in Plantation Medical because you didn't have a hospital then, but I'm getting older now, Mayor. I mean, what can I say? When I was 25 when I got elected. Now I'm like 37. I got 2 kids. I'm like an old man, you know.
Yeah.
Sorry, Lou. Sorry.
Ask our Vice Mayor and me.
I should know my audience, Vice Mayor. I apologize.
We want to again thank you, and we're going to move on with the Lynn Johnson Awards. And Commissioner Daly, if you could meet me down there.
Any customer-involved government committee members, you want to come on up, or members of the evaluation panel? No? All right, cool. Dale, you're up.
Now it's on. Thank you all. I'm here tonight to talk about the Lynn Johnson Volunteer Recognition. Some of you may not realize the city is very fortunate. At any given time, in any given month, we have a couple hundred people volunteering to support the city. And every year we rack up about 35,000 hours in volunteer time in the city. So those are great things to be excited about. Not to mention, this week we're recognizing volunteers for the annual volunteer recognition. And this special award, which is in commemorating Lynn Johnson, is really special to us internally, and it's a process that we've been doing for several years now. If I could have one of my staff come up to help with handing these out to these gentlemen, that would be really great. And Dan, if you want to say anything about Lynn Johnson Award, you're more than welcome to. I'm going to read the actual nominations, and we'll call them up one at a time.
Great, yeah, so thanks, Dale. So before we do that, Lynn Johnson epitomized volunteer service in this community for many, many years. And you can ask some of the staff members who have been here for 10, 20, 30, 40 years. Believe it or not, we have longevity in our staff. Lynn Johnson really was just went above and beyond for this community and never asked for anything in return. Just wanted to step up and just wanted to serve. So I believe it was in 2009, after Lynn passed. Lynn was a recipient of the award prior to it being named the Lynn Johnson Award, and after her passing, we made the decision to name this recognition after Lynn Johnson. So as Dale said, look, we could not do what we do as a municipality without our volunteers. Look, we have entire events, right? World Fest just a couple weeks ago, entire events, the MLK committee, the MLK weekend of events, entire events put on almost entirely by volunteers. I don't know about you, but I don't know of many other cities that can say that. So we want to make sure that we recognize those who step up and go above and beyond in this community, and that is the Lynn Johnson Award.
Great. We have several categories we're going to recognize tonight. The first one is Working with Youth category, and I'd like to call up Luz Levin. For over 7 years, Luz has dedicated her time to the Coral Springs Civil Air Patrol program and currently is the squadron commander. The Coral Springs Squadron is responsible for providing support and services to multiple city-sanctioned events such as World Fest, the Holiday Parade, our 5K races, to name a few. Luz's motivation comes from the impact this program has made on the cadets ages 12 to 18. I think we have one up there with her now, a former cadet. and the difference it makes in their lives and their success. It is designed to enhance the lives of teens by making them good citizens and leaders in their schools and communities. Thank you, Luz.
Luz?
Thank you very much. This is a giant honor for me, but I can't honestly take this only for my name because I have so many members and some of them are here tonight that I couldn't be able to do what I do without their support. The program has touched the lives of so many cadets that I know would be in other places today if it wasn't for this program. So on behalf of everyone, I take this, of the Civil Air Patrol, I take this award. I thank you very much.
The next category is Seniors Making a Difference. I'd like to call up Bill Skegan. Bill is an active member of the Senior Advisory Committee. This past year, Bill was responsible for bringing forth a unique concept to the City Senior Center at Sartori Hall called Socrates Cafe, a forum for seniors to meet and have discussion on philosophical, ethical, or theological topics. His time and effort has made the Socrates Cafe a success and grow, and it's a wonderful opportunity to meet and share ideas and experiences with fellow residents. He also was instrumental in starting an intergenerational Socrates Cafe to engage high school students in meaningful conversation on current topics with our senior population. Congratulations, Bill.
Bill.
And I want to thank everybody. I want to particularly thank Joy Carter, because actually Joy was the commissioner who got this going. We got her support and the support of Coral Springs. And just in case you don't know what the Socrates Cafe is, it's derived from Socrates, whose philosophy was that you never stop learning, and you learn by asking questions and sharing ideas. And cafe, which is a forum for people to meet and have open discussions. And we found when we started this that we tapped into a need in Coral Springs, because right from the beginning we had a large number of seniors, and now with the intergenerational group, we just hope to keep it going and want to thank everybody that helped support it.
He's done a great job.
The next category is Working with Youth in Sports. I'd like to call up Alan Himes. For the past 20 years, Alan has been devoting his time to the Coral Springs Youth Soccer Program. He started with the program back when his own children were part of it and has stayed on ever since. Alan spends countless hours of his time in making soccer possible for others. His dedication to the program has allowed thousands of children to enjoy the sport, and the program would not be success without his support and commitment. Congratulations, Alan.
I just want to second what was said before, is with an organization as big as Coral Springs Youth Soccer, one person can't run it all. So there's a lot of folks that are involved and a lot of time that's put in. It also means a lot to be recognized, because it's interesting, folks forget about that. I can't tell you how many times where, with as big as CSYS is, inevitably, not everybody's happy. And I can't tell you how many times people have come up to me and said, you're paid to make us happy. You're paid to do this. And we're not paid. It is a volunteer deal. So it's nice to be recognized for that it is a volunteer position.
Yeah, I can remember when my son was 6 years old, and I sponsored Skip's Strikers. And that team had a team that had no goals kicked against them. And two of the kids are actually in professional sports today. And I think it's because of the soccer. So congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Our next category is Committed Enhancing City Services. Many of you may not know about the Community Emergency Response Team, also known as CERT. but is made up of local residents who give their time in providing assistance to first responders for emergency and non-emergency situations. These volunteers are trained in CPR, first aid, and triage, and can make a difference in the event of a natural disaster or emergency situation. This team is also frequently activated to search for missing persons. CERT members are vital to the fire and police departments when the need arises in providing life-saving measures and critical support. I'd like to call up the CERT team and congratulate them on this recognition. I should say members of the CERT team.
All right. Chief. Thank you, sir. For 15 years, CERT has been serving our community, and we've done so very proudly. We're very proud to serve for the fire department and police departments. I thought it was because I have a cold. That's why you're backing off. Okay, I'm sorry. But we've. I will now. Yeah, now that you know that I'm sick. We very proudly serve, and we are glad to do so. Just want to announce to everybody also that this Saturday we're having a huge safety fest out at Sportsplex. We invite everyone to come out there and join us for it. We're having people from all over the county, police and fire, assets from all over the county, things for the kids. It'll be great if everyone wants to, if the police come out. We're doing a pancake breakfast 8 to 10, and then the actual event is 10 to 3. So.
Could you introduce everybody?
Sure. To my left is Steve Mitchell, part of our leadership team, Carol Scherson, Mike Spahn, part of our leadership team, Joe Chell, my deputy team commander, Patty Mayette, and Dave Kushner, all part of our team.
Give them all a round of applause.
And and I forgot our photographer, Jeff Stahl.
Mr. Mayor, before we get a photo, I want to take a point here for a second, because the CERT team is instrumental not just for the occasional fire or first aid incident or hurricane, but things like the events of February 14th. They provide a needed backbone for our first responders to fill in the gaps and make sure that we're doing everything we can to assist those that are impacted by any event, but particularly on that day. So I want to thank you, Mike, and everybody up here.
One picture of the photographer.
Wonderful, thank you. Really appreciate everything you do.
The next category is enhancing the lives of Coral Springs residents. I'd like to call up Jose Luis Rodriguez.
Joy.
Jose has been a dedicated volunteer for the past 20 years. He's a member of the Multicultural Advisory Committee, as well as the chair of the World Fest Committee. Jose spends countless hours each year working on the logistics of World Fest event, and his efforts have helped to make the event a success that it is. He has a huge love for our community and a desire to give back, especially when it focuses on multiculturalism, which is such an integral part of our city. Congratulations, Jose.
Okay, thank you. We feel honored for this. I'll just say, really, everything I do for the city, I've been here 28 years now. We enjoy it. My family loves it. And everything we do for the Multicultural Committee is we have a great group over here, World Fest volunteers. And that's, I think somebody earlier said, we're all volunteers. People see us out there working day and night, preparing for all the activities, and We have to thank our loved ones, our wives, who are very patient. Tell me so. And our dinner dance, we have the international. I'm sorry, she's still. No, we have a very number of activities during the year, and each member of the committee is very active. It leads some of the activities, but we all pitch in. Everybody does their part, and that's what makes all these events successful. But I want to thank you all.
You have to see Joy. She's over there beaming from ear to ear.
If members of the Multicultural Committee, also known as Jose's Fan Club, could please stand up to be recognized.
We have one more honorable mention for this category. So in the same category, enhancing the lives of Coral Springs residents, I'd like to call up Desislava Ivanova. She has been devoting her time to the police department, CSI, and evidence unit for the past 3 years. She provides support and assistance in researching cases in order to determine the case status. She's very dedicated and thorough in what she does. In fact, the result of her efforts in one particular case resulted in arrest 15 years after the incident. She should be commended for the outstanding job she does for us. She enjoys giving back to her community and finds the work she does to be both interesting and rewarding. Congratulations, Desislava.
Thank you. To have my name even considered for this award is a great honor because there are so many other volunteers that did such a great job for this city, so I'm just honored to be mentioned, along with them. And I want to thank Sheila Lustigman, the supervisor of CSI and Evidence Unit, for believing in me and making me part of her team of volunteers. And I want to thank the city for giving us opportunity to help and make this city even more beautiful. And thank you, Kim, for taking care of us. So thank you, everybody.
I did also I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the Customer Involved Government Committee because the program that recognizes volunteers was put together by volunteers. So how about a round of applause for them?
Okay, moving on to public comment. Are there any people that would like to have public comment?
Mayor, I have 4 signed speakers at this time. First is Brian Javeline, Diane Simpson, John Walsh, and Carl Prescott.
Welcome.
Hi, everybody. Brian Javelin, nice to meet you, everybody. I just wanted to offer a comment towards the most recent bond challenge that we had in our city. We all know, we were struck out 3 times, and I voted against all 3. And a lot of it had to do predominantly, not because I'm not interested in the growth of Coral Springs and many of the good things, but I had to have some interesting conversations, mostly with my kids, explaining about how our country is continuously going into debt and someone's going to need to pay for it, and then even watching my own city hit a point where there were certain things that I absolutely agreed that we actually really did need, but there were many things that I felt became the nice-to-haves, and attempting to try to teach my kids the difference of, hey, I need a phone. Should I go get a $100 phone, or do I need a $1,000 phone just to be hip and cool? And one of the things that I noticed when I was speaking to the other people who were voting, it seemed that so many people are still adjusting to the most recent limited increases. I think all of the increases that our city has come across have actually been reasonable, but now comes another new increase where people were questioning, why are they doing it in the time when most people don't vote? So a lot of people started questioning, there's not enough time to debate it, but maybe this is a perfect time that most people don't vote, and somebody wants to have these votes passed through by the people that are going to benefit. And I, Joy, agree that that's not the case, but perception wins, and that's what happened with the votes. That there is a perception that there was just not enough time to think about this and not recover from the most recent increases. And so I just wanted to throw that out there that, you know, as the city's growing, I've been here forever. Joy, I won the Lynn Johnson Award last year, so I am actively in this community, and I do participate in a lot of different events, mostly as a volunteer. And I just want you to think about that as things become more complex, a lot of times people don't understand. So they started looking. One person even made a comment to me and said, wait, and I actually had to prove it myself. I wasn't even sure that he said, wait a second, we're going to be increasing our long-term debt by 70% on one shot. I didn't even know what it meant. I had to look it up, and then mathematically, I was actually thinking about it, saying, you know what, it looks true. Maybe I might be off, but it's a big number to hit. And a lot of other people that are struggling, while the increase per month or per quarter would be very nominal, other people were looking at it as, no, 70% long-term debt for my children to pay for, regardless, and like, I'm a soccer fan, you know that, I love to be on the fields. I couldn't justify borrowing that type of money for that long period of time on top of other items that really are a necessity. So I just wanted to throw that out there, that as we get a little bit more complex, there's going to be a lot of residents who may not take the time to actually learn what you're really trying to say, and I think that the summary aspect of the education to the people around me, I was actually trying to learn, and I couldn't go quick enough, and then I just got held back on the vote, on the amount of money. So I just wanted to throw that topic out there for future consideration.
I want to thank you for coming and giving us your thoughts.
Thank you.
Diane Simpson.
Hi, I'm Diane Simpson, 8644 Northwest 29 Drive, Coral Springs. I'd like to talk about the Coral Springs Muni Code, that it needs to be updated to current times related to boat parking at single-family homes. I've spoken individually to each of the members on the committee about this issue starting in March. Coral Springs is known for being a premier city with beautiful aesthetics. I want to see us continue that while not imposing excessive restrictions on homeowners related to boat storage. The current Muni Code regarding boats has not been updated since the city's inception over 40 years ago, according to staff. 30 years ago, I moved to Coral Springs and bought my home. In those days, Publix was closed on Sundays. Antennas were not allowed. Now that rule changed in the 90s, according to federal law. Vans and SUVs were not even allowed to be parked outside. You had to have those in a garage. And then there's business signage, which was extremely restrictive and has since been updated to be not as restrictive. And I understand we recently had a variance approved for Cleveland Clinic, and I was in my 20s. So let me say I believe in rules. I follow all the commandments, not just the ones I agree with. But in this case, we have a Muni Code that can be updated to current times. The current Muni Code says that boats are included in the definition of recreational vehicles. Boats should be classified as watercraft. BOCA defines them as watercraft and as defined by the Coast Guard. Secondly, with the current Muni Code, boats are not permitted at residences at any time on a Sunday, not for loading and not for unloading, which makes it difficult for weekend boaters to go out on both Saturday and Sunday, since it's not allowed to be at the home at any time on a Sunday. That's what the current code says. Each member contributed to this process. Thank you. Each comment has helped to give this direction. Those conversations led me to comparable benchmark cities' Muni codes related to boat parking. So in Florida, the benchmark cities are Coral Gables, Boca Raton, Plantation. Across the country, Scottsdale, Arizona, Bellevue, Washington, Fort Collins, Colorado, and Overland, Kansas City, Kansas. We all understand the Muni Code was developed with the intention of avoiding visual blight. There are some things we can do to compromise and still be sensitive to all interested parties and update the Muni Code. Okay, I'll go faster.
Actually,
So-
that means you're out of time.
I know it, thank you,
But I'll give
sorry.
you a couple extra.
Thank you. Okay, so you see the code, this matrix, which has all the other cities across the top, and it has all of their criteria. And if you want to look at their Muni Code, their section is on the bottom. Any parts that are blank, it's because their Muni Code is silent on that issue. If I don't have a column in here for Coral Springs, because everything would be no. Okay, so I'm proposing that we update the Muni Code to allow boat parking with restrictions. Boats no more than 25 feet, like weekend fishermen, must be visually screened on 3 sides.
And
Hedge.
with reference to the specifics of what you're proposing, that's something we'll deal with later. I don't think that really is part of public comment, so if we could conclude.
Okay. So, sure. Thank you for your time. What I was really asking, since you've had an opportunity to review it, to think about it, starting in March, that you could make a motion and an amendment and update the current Muni Code. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Daly.
Mr. Mayor, if I can jump in, and Diane, I want to thank you for the extensive amount of time that you've spent on this, including the matrix. It's very impressive, and I appreciate that very much, and I know that staff will review it and incorporate it into their comments. Actually, so based on your comments to us, I know at least I did, in March, we asked staff, I believe they've already been looking into potential changes, you know, and I hope I'm not breaking any confidences here, but I'm just going to tell everybody our conversation. I'm certainly open to having a discussion and seeing what our options are and maybe modernizing the code. The last time this section of code was updated was actually 2007. It may not have been specific to boats, but that's all the more reason we need to take another look at it, because I think the time before that was 1971, where I don't think I was even a thought. But that's neither here nor there. So I know that staff's been looking into it, and if we can kind of prioritize that a little bit, I would certainly appreciate it. I think it's time. You know, you've seen a city come a long way while still valuing aesthetics. This, for a long time, was known as the city where, or one of the only cities, I think, in the country, where McDonald's wasn't allowed to have the golden arches, right? Now, moving forward, we've, as recently as a couple of years ago, amended the signage codes to be to today's standard while still maintaining aesthetic excellence. Because I think there's got to be a trade-off, and I think there's a middle ground, and I think it's an opportunity for us to take a look at it. So I would really appreciate if we could continue to do that.
And Diane, I've told you personally, we're going to try to bring this up at a workshop. You know, that's why I didn't want you to get into specifics. There's a lot of specifics that we got to get into. Some of the things, as I told you, like not having your boat on Sunday, I think is stupid. So these, I appreciate your addressing the issue, but you got to give it time to get through the process. And again, thank you for your thoughts on that issue. Anybody else want to say?
No, just, are we going to put this on a workshop, Mike? Yeah.
This is part, reviewing our code is part of the work plan we discussed with the commission on prioritizing, so this will be something we'll look at with everything else we're doing.
Okay, next speaker.
Next, we have Carl Prescott.
Mayor, this is my last appearance before you.
Hi.
That I'm going to be talking about fireworks. January the 3rd, I turned 87 years old. And like I said, this is my last time I think I'm going to talk about it. And since it's my last time, I want to say thank you to Deborah Thomas, our city clerk, because she's been so kind to help me on many things. But I wasn't going to even talk anymore, but then I saw something that most of you probably saw that alarmed me. Phantom Fireworks put an ad on television and ran it several times, which would be totally against the law. It was shown to be in a municipal and residential area. And we all know they can only do this in a place to fly, scare away birds from crops. And I don't know of any crops in Coral Springs anywhere in Fort Lauderdale.
My wife has some.
Sorry?
My wife has some in our backyard.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Crops.
All right, the next thing I'm talking about.
She has a.
What worries me is these people in the fireworks industry are tough people. And I've had people that have gone to Tallahassee and tell me the ultimate aim is to have a fireworks store in every city in the state. Now, you can believe that every birthday, every anniversary, every homecoming, that people will be setting off fireworks. And so instead of 4th of July and New Year's Eve, it'll be a constant thing. And, you know, we've been talking a lot tonight about children. Now, what's it going to take? Last year, we had 2 children over in Pompano Beach. One lost a hand, another lost 3 fingers. Now, somebody that's very dear to us sometime is something bad's going to happen to them. And we have to remind the people in our city that this is against the law to use these fireworks in residential areas. Now, I'm going to say one more thing, Mayor. And this might seem silly to a little of you, but the other day, I've got a real wide canal back of my house. And the other day, I was sitting out there looking at things. That's what old men do. And I saw this cardinal came up, this red bird. And he was as red as any ruby I've ever seen. And in a few minutes, the female came and reminded me of a fresh cut, open, ripe watermelon. They looked like ointments on a Christmas tree. They were so pretty. So the only thing I'm asking you to do, I've been at this for 15 years.
I think Deborah gave you more time. I saw her give me a couple more seconds.
I've been at this for 15 years, so I'm just asking that, although I'm not going to be active, we've got some good people that can do something about these illegal fireworks.
Okay.
We got Dan Daly.
Dan wants to ask a question.
Just very briefly, Carl, I want to thank you because even before I was elected, when Representative Porth tried to file a local bill to make some changes, and the fireworks lobby, I got to tell you, fireworks lobby is almost like the NRA. I mean, they were quick. The thing was dead before it hit the floor in Tallahassee. But you have been coming to this commission for 15 years. It's because of you that we've started the billboards out there before any of the major holidays. It's because of you that we've gone out and done some of the limited confiscations for those that aren't following the law. So I just want to thank you and commend you for continuing to come forward and being so passionate on this issue.
Well, I was going to say that Senator Jeremy Ring had tried to bring some legislation up in Tallahassee because they want to know how the state could tell the city that we could not pass an ordinance preventing illegal fireworks. He said he got more stuff for flack from both parties, politicians, more stuff from lobbyists than on any one subject he ever had. So there's a lot of money poured into this illegal thing.
Carl, I can verify that myself, and I do want to thank you personally for your commitment, and hopefully we will see you at another meeting so we can talk about other things.
All right.
Thank you. Next.
Thank you, Mayor.
Mayor, the last speaker I have is John Walsh.
John, why don't you just do it over here? Yeah.
That was futile over there the last time. John Walsh, 11191 Northwest 24th Street, Coral Springs. I've been a 34-year resident of Coral Springs, but I'm here tonight as chairman of the board of the CRA, Community Redevelopment Agency, sometimes known as Downtown Coral Springs. At the last commission meeting, this commission very nicely reappointed me as chairman and a new vice chairman, Andy Caston, who is a present board member. But I want to make sure that we recognize Alyssa Harvey, who is still a board member of the CRA, but she asked not to be reappointed as vice chair. But she's done a lot of hard work and is very involved, but she and her husband want to travel a little more, so she asked not to be reappointed as vice chair. The other thing that you did was two commission meetings ago, there were 4 members of our board that asked to be reappointed, and Vice Mayor Semaglia recommended that we be reappointed, and so all 4 members were reappointed. I just want to compliment the board members because this is a hard-working board. They're not just involved with a board meeting and then that's it. They meet monthly at the board meetings, but there are subcommittee meetings, there are other things that they're very involved in. It takes a lot of time, all volunteers. So I want to thank all of those. I think Danielle Cohen-Lima here. Danielle is our administrator, as you know, of the CRA. Works between us and the city. She does all the dirty work, all the hard work. And, I want to recognize our new deputy city manager, Cindy. She is over the CRA, and I know I've seen a great deal of cooperation from her right from the beginning. Plus our city manager, Mike Goodrum. Nothing but cooperation and communication between everybody. So I want to appreciate all of those people and make sure that in particular that Alyssa Harvey gets the recognition she deserves for being vice chair. Okay?
Vice Mayor.
Thank you.
Yes, John, I made that recommendation for exactly the reason you said. I've witnessed for the last couple of years how you guys working real hard, and Danielle doing a bang-up job. So again, to the entire CRA, thank you so much.
Thank you. Our vice mayor is there all the time. He does his research and knows what he's talking about and is a great coordinator between the CRA and the commission.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. All right, anybody else? Welcome, Joe.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. Joe Morera, 3275 Northwest 114th Lane. Come before you tonight to please consider a proposal that I'm trying to present to you. Last year, the city staff lost a longtime member, Tom Eisenheimer. I had the pleasure to work with Tom for many, many years, and he was a dedicated employee as far as my personal involvement with him, and I certainly appreciated all the help that he provided to me during the many events that we worked on together. So the request that I have of the City Commission is to perhaps consider renaming the Sportsplex Field the Tom Eisenheimer Memorial Field. I think it would be a recognition of all the years of service that he provided to the city, and it will be a good honor to his name and his time with the city to have that name named after him, if you will be so kind to make that as a consideration for
Joe,
future discussion.
I just, at the request of some citizens, we just named one of the basketball courts after somebody. And believe it or not, we found out that there's a process. And if you could contact the city manager's office, they'll tell you about the process, and I'm sure we'll get that done for you.
That would be certainly appreciated. Thank you for your time. Have a
Commissioner
good evening.
Daly.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Really, Tom was an icon in the city and for all of his years of service, and he's missed, and I'd certainly be supportive, so let's see what we can do.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time. Have a good evening. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else?
Hello, good evening, guys. My name is Ralph Lewis. I am currently here for the Hat Foundation. So with the Hat Foundation, on September 15th, we plan on doing a March for Hunger.
Could you give us your address?
Actually, I am from West Palm Beach.
Doesn't matter.
625 North Flagler Drive, West Palm Beach, Florida.
Okay.
All right. So as you guys know, 12% of the entire U.S. is starving in poverty. So, and that number has not changed, that percentage, even though we have grown in people. So I do want to make a March for Hunger on September 15th to raise $1 million to be able to do so to feed 1 million families. And I do need you guys' help to help join me with that. Right now, currently, we have raised up to $13,000 to be able to do so. Started the March for Hunger 3 weeks ago, so the numbers are growing. But I do need every city's help to be able to do it. I've been able to go to Boynton, which have agreed to join alliance with us, and I would love for you guys to join alliance with us as well. Imagine if we had 10,000 people just donate $100 each, that would come out to $1 million. And also volunteers for the actual March for Hunger itself. So if I could have that, that'd be awesome. Would you guys be willing to join the movement with us?
Well, we can't discuss it right here tonight. If you could get us the information, we'll look at it.
What's the name of the foundation?
I also do have all the information here for you guys. If it was ever possible for me to be able to schedule a meeting with you guys, if you guys could direct me to who I'd be able to talk to right after.
I owe you a return email, so I gotta, thank you for the reminder.
You owe me a return, yeah.
Call Commissioner Daly. Actually, all of us have office hours, and if you just call Andrea Maper, you got a pen there?
Andrea Maper, yes, sir.
If you don't have a pen, don't worry about it. You can get the information. Her number is 954-344-5911. And she can set up an appointment for you to come on in during our office hours. We cannot speak to you collectively unless it's at a workshop type situation. Andrea will set some time up for you.
Mayor, are we able to attend
You
that
can ask
workshop?
Diane. She's been to see me twice.
We gotta go each.
She can tell you the process.
I would love to see each one of you guys at a time, so that's no problem.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Congratulations. Good luck on it.
All right.
Any more speakers? Michael.
Mike DeTaco, 2801 Coral Springs Drive. Here tonight on behalf of the Florida Family Safety Fest that's coming up this Saturday. I mentioned it a few minutes ago. We're going to have live fire safety demonstrations, canine police demonstrations, police and fire apparatus from around the county, bounce houses, public education for people of all ages, car seat installations and checks, hands-on kids activities, health, wellness, and safety exhibits, as well as a silent auction, duck pond, and raffles. We're going to have music, food, and a whole lot more. So I'd like to personally invite each of you to come out if you're available on Saturday. The event, like I said, the pancake breakfast starts at 8 a.m., goes to 10, and then the actual event runs from 10 to 3. I'll leave a couple flyers here. I know they're kind of mutilated. I can email them to you if you'd like. And if y'all would be able to attend, we'd really appreciate it. We're going to do an opening ceremony at 10 o'clock up on the band shell. So
Okay, great.
look forward to see you all there if you can.
Any other speakers? Seeing none, let's move on to ordinance 2018-103. Mr. Hearn, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. This is an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Coral Springs, Florida, amending Section 18-4.1 of the Code of Ordinances to allow mobile food vendors with a temporary use permit, amending Section 1015 of the Land Development Code entitled Temporary Use Permits, creating Section 250-1059 of the Land Development Code to provide regulations for mobile food vendors, providing for conflict, providing for repeal, or providing for severability, providing for codification,
have had food trucks at open houses, and we don't need to. One is quite sufficient. So how would that ordinance work on the 3? So is it me 3 per year, or is it each property gets 3 per year?
It's really each property.
Okay.
So it would be each property, and then we require that 2 be there. It's so that we have a large enough event to attract those
We
larger
just had one
audience.
in the other cities we've done it at, and it was a big success. I think 2 would be a real hindrance for,
Sounds like you're violating the ordinance.
no, other cities.
Other cities.
Other
Our
cities.
code requires 2 as proper.
And really the other reason why we looked at that too, and we had discussions with the attorney's office, is that one could be, we have other mobile vendors in the city that would like to have that. So having just one.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Gets into a code issue where, well, we stopped for, 30 seconds and then we moved on. So
Okay.
having 2 there makes it a larger event, and then really we can have our code compliance, division really enforce it if it's necessary. I don't know if.
It makes
Mr.
it
Herman-
easier to enforce.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Vice Mayor Smaglia.
Jim, just to clarify something, did I hear you say that the food vendors, the food trucks have to be on city property?
They can be on private property, but they would be required, they would only be allowed 3 per year. So if you wanted to do an event, you could do 3 separate events if you were a private property owner. If you wanted to do more than that, or make it if they want to do something monthly or something like that, they would need to come to you all and get the approval for additional
Would that also
uses.
apply to a house of worship?
Yes.
Let me raise an issue. I was out in Los Angeles with my grandkids' birthday party. They had a food truck, one food truck. That, I think, would violate our city ordinance.
Yes.
Okay, well,
I understand why.
you're seeing, well, I don't, because this was a private party, and I can see citizens in Coral Springs wanting to have a food truck, and I'm not too sure that I feel that there is a need for 2.
Well, let's say you have a food truck, right? Like the big one. And then now they have these little tiny ones that could be doing dessert. They have little trucks that do like coffee and espresso. So there's your 2.
Like a hot dog, or a hot dog vendor.
Or a
smaller
hot dog vendor,
venue.
that would be
Yes.
2.
I'm sitting there thinking, on these side streets that are just little 2 lanes, somebody wants to put a food truck out there for a birthday party. I mean, that could be massive traffic problems.
And they would need a temporary use permit, and really, they
Yeah.
can't block the right-of-way. We'd have, and that's why we get our fire department involved in public safety, just to make sure that, if you're gonna have an event somewhere. But I will tell you, we don't get many requests for residential food trucks. In fact, I don't know if our department's ever, we get calls really for commercial businesses or places of worship that are looking to have an event. And, it's actually, rather than going and get the food and bringing it back and having sternos and all
Right.
those things, it's a lot easier to provide that to the
And to your point, I
population.
think it's rare to have an event that exceeds 5 hours. Usually they're 3 to 4.
Mr. Vice Mayor, I'm going to turn the chair over to you because I want to make a motion. I want to table this until we've had an opportunity to discuss it more fully, because I strongly believe that citizens should be able to have the ability to have one food truck and have parties if they want to. So I don't want this thing to move on to second reading. I move that we table.
Do I have a second?
It dies.
Dies.
But that being said, I'm inclined to agree with the mayor. I've seen this from its inception since 2012, when I think I was the one that said, hey, why are we one of the only cities in the county that makes it, in the state rather, that makes it so incredibly difficult for food trucks to operate? So I'm actually in agreement with you, Mayor, but what I would like to see is in the interim between first and second reading, that we pan out, because we can do that.
Yeah, if you're talking about the number of food trucks, absolutely, you could make that.
So rather than hold it up, because I agree with you, and I've seen this since the beginning, so I'd like it to get to reality at some point, sooner rather than later. Look, I understand both sides of it, right? You've got brick and mortar businesses who every once in a while, if we just allow food trucks everywhere, would be upset, and I get that. and they raised the point that, we should be able to be at all these events, and we should be at all these things. Look, that's one, if it's a private event, that's the private individual's decision. Okay, who am I to say, hey, by the way, you can't have a food truck at your party, whatever the number is, right? And two, at city events, I remember when we first started using food trucks at city events. Mind you, there are entire cities that host food truck roundups on a monthly basis with 20 food trucks.
Next door.
Okay? Margate does it, by the way.
So does Parkland.
Coconut Creek does it. So many cities in South Florida do it. For whatever reason, we haven't embraced it. That's cool, no problem. I'm not looking to be a burden on the brick and mortar businesses. I understand their argument, but I also want to make sure that the residents, look, that we're in 2018, that the residents have the option. For the longest time, the brick and mortars would say, well, why are you going to allow them at city events? Because when we offer brick and mortar businesses the opportunity to bring food to the city events, anything at the Art Walk, most of them said, no, it's too much of a pain, it's too much of a hassle, they don't want to do it, they're not going to get a return on their investment, whatever it is. So this gives us the opportunity. So I do agree with you, Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry for not offering the second, but I would just like to see it move forward with the thought being between first and second reading, can we amend the language and make it more agreeable?
Well, I'm going to ask the city attorney to draft an amendment saying, one, unless someone comes up with a reason that I just don't understand.
And I would second that motion.
So is that the motion to approve and then work on the language with the individual?
I think it's a motion to amend this 2018-103.
Right, but you're approving it on first reading, or are you asking
As
to
amended.
defer to the next meeting? That's
My motion to table died.
Right.
Because there wasn't a second. I've now made a motion to amend, to say that one food truck for private events, and we put it in there just for private events, and whether they have only 3 a year, something to keep it so that it doesn't get out of hand, but to give the citizens the opportunity to have one food truck if they have a birthday party.
Is that private to residential?
Yeah, probably residential. But that's my motion. Motion to amend.
Second.
There a second?
And just to clarify, that inside that motion is, because we're going to bring it to second reading, so that's an approval of the first reading with the request to make that amendment, and we can bring that back.
The thing that concerns me, and the reason why I want to table this, so everybody knows Robert's Rules of Order, is second reading, there will be no debate.
There'll be no public comment. You can
Correct.
certainly.
We can debate it,
yes.
but there will be nobody out there who will come in and say, hey, I think that's dumb. I think it's going to affect my restaurant or something. That's the reason why I moved to table it as opposed to just move to amend.
So Mayor, if I may, there's no requirement on second reading to open it to the public, but you certainly could open to the public if you'd like to. There's no requirement, so you could open it to the public if you wanted to see if anyone had a comment on that at the next meeting.
Or members of the public can speak during public comment on the item, whatever, either way. But I'm with you, Mayor, like, I would love to have some input on this item, but I also don't want to stall it any longer. As you've seen, we've extended the pilot program 17 times.
Okay, to Jim's point, the pop-up, the one truck, the pop-up, I mean, if there's a way to word it to avoid that.
Well, it's going to be harder to enforce because the point of the two trucks is if there's someone with one truck, by definition they're violating it. So that's why staff was recommending that. But that can certainly be changed, and there's other cities that do it. And that's the will of the commission. We'll get that done.
Anyway, that's my motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Okay. Now you got to announce that it passes.
It passes unanimously.
Thank you.
All right, now turn it back to me.
You got the chair.
You could refuse that too.
I gave him the chair, he's going to leave. All right, so moving on to consent items. I've asked 14 to be removed. Does anybody else have anything else they want to be removed?
No.
Move the balance.
Moved to balance, seconded by
Me.
Vice Mayor Semaglia. Commissioner Vignola, did you want something removed?
I believe the item that I want to remove was removed earlier.
It was. Item 17 was removed.
Okay, that was pulled from the agenda. So, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, passes unanimously. Moving on to item number 18, 2018-013. Do I
I think this is a, I'll read that resolution.
yeah, Mr. Hearn, go ahead.
It's a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Coral Springs, Florida, recommending Project Colfax be approved as a qualified target industry business pursuant to Section 288.106 Florida statutes, for providing for an appropriation of $21,000 for the express purpose of local participation of the City of Coral Springs in the qualified target industry, tax refund incentive, and providing for an effective date.
Haley, seconded by Commissioner Carter. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
By the way, Sergeant, I understand that you are going to be going to active duty, and I want to thank you for your commitment to the city and to this economic development, and we wish you luck in your new post. I guess you're going to Homestead?
Yes, sir.
Well, at least you'll be close to home.
Yeah, I'll be close to home, so it's not as terrible as it could be.
So congratulations.
Mr. Mayor, if I can just give a quick shout out to, well, one, Anna and staff that made that possible. If you guys didn't notice, this is the second QTI-related issue that we've seen in 2 meetings, so that bodes well for the city. And I wanted to give a shout out to David and Todd for coming all the way out west. Thanks for making the trek. Maybe I know you were riveted by our food truck discussion, but maybe in the future we can bump you up in the agenda since you're bringing us jobs. But with that, thanks everybody.
Thank you.
I think they were more interested in the boats. All right, moving on to replacement of raw water supply wells 18, 19, and 20. Mr. Salamone, you are recognized.
Good evening, Angelo Salamone, Purchasing Administrator for the city.
The item before you tonight is an award of contract to Florida Design Drilling Corporation in the amount of $3,570,000 for replacement of raw water supply wells and the rehabilitation of one existing well. This is a normal element in the capital improvement program, a normal process of replacing wells when they become too old to keep going and supply the amount of water needed. The city bid the project using the offices of our water and wastewater engineer, Eckler Engineering, and the bids came in at 2.5% below the engineer's estimate, which is pretty close and where we want to be on that side. And also the references with Florida Design Drilling Corporation were checked, all found to be satisfactory. So a recommendation is made to award the contract to that firm.
Move to approve.
Well, before that, any discussion? All right, move to approve by Commissioner Carter, second by Vice Mayor Semaglia. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Passes unanimously. Don't leave yet.
Wastewater, we
Wait a
want
minute,
it to work.
This is not yours. Who's item 20? Is this, Rich? I've asked this to be taken off consent only for one reason. It's asking the city to waive, and Rich, I'd like you to explain what the project is and why we're waiving the fees and why it's better for the city that we do this.
If I may address the technical components of the project, Mayor, and then defer the procurement code inquiry to Angelo. But this is a project that originated back in 2014 in response to customer survey results that looked for more lighting in neighborhoods. So in response to that, the city evaluated the approximately 2-mile sidewalk that goes around the boulevard and saw it as an opportunity to add pedestrian walkway lighting. Presently, the lighting on Forest Hills Boulevard is in the median, the street lighting is in the median, and the light doesn't really disperse very adequately to the perimeter of the road. The sidewalk rounds around the entire perimeter of Forest Hills Boulevard. So 3/4 of the boulevard are within the community development block grant area. So back in 2015, we were able to begin budgeting block grant monies for this project, with the other 25% coming out of the city's funds. The design started in 2015. Took a little bit longer than we wanted to for the design because of the complexity of where to get the power from. And in 2017, went out for bid on phase 1, which was an award by the commission in the amount of $590,000 to basically install 34 poles, and all the infrastructure, all the underground for those 34 poles was put in place. The master plan for the boulevard called for 67 poles. So phase 2 is now before you tonight to finish the job, basically to furnish and install the other 33 poles to complete the boulevard pedestrian lighting project.
All right, Mr. Salamone, if you could explain why we're asking for a waiver of city procurement code.
The change order required, or requested here is $153,000, which is a fairly large change order with an initial starting project of less than $600,000. And when we did the due diligence, found out that the unit costs for putting in the new poles were the same as the original bid amount, and we would be able to stay with the same contractor and have only one pair of hands, so to speak, working on the entire project. So if we should ever run into any difficulty, we would know who did the work. There wouldn't be any doubt about that. Those elements entered us into, or started us looking at how we could get this done. What we said in the original agenda report was that we would competitively bid phase 2 of the project. That is the key change here. We are not competitively bidding it. We are taking advantage of the fact that our unit costs have remained the same to finish the project. So that is why the recommendation is made to waive the code.
Okay, and I just want to make sure everybody understands that this is the type of thing that our fellow that watches over us, what's he called? Oh, Inspector General looks at, and there is a very valid reason and purpose for us to waive it. And that's the reason why I asked that it be at least discussed and not just on consent.
And importantly, we are following our code by going through this waiver process.
Right. Any other questions or comments from any of the commissioners? All right, moved by Vice Mayor Semaglia, seconded by Commissioner Carter. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, passes unanimously. Commissioner Daly, you're recognized.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I was getting some very important legal advice, and I don't know why I'm being recognized.
Because this is called commission communication.
Got it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Very good. Awesome. Right, thank you. Thanks
All
so
right,
much.
thanks for-
He threw me off. You usually start at the other end of the, never mind. All right, folks, it's been a long night, and I'll be very brief. You know, I've heard in my role as League of Cities president a lot on both sides on recycling. I know it's like the 800-pound gorilla in the room for all of Broward County and all of Broward County cities. So I'd like to see if we can get some sort of update, some sort of presentation, whether it's at a formal meeting or just me individually, or share it with the committee, whatever it is, on the recycling situation. Because honestly, guys, I don't know what to believe anymore. From other elected officials across the county to interested parties to uninterested parties, there's a lot of concern I have with our recycling options moving forward, and issues with the previous contract or whatever. But if we can kind of get an update, and so we can go from there, that would be awesome. See, recycling into EarthFest. So EarthFest this Saturday is at the Sawgrass Nature Center out at the Sportsplex. It's from 9 to 1. If you get a chance, please go out there for a couple reasons. Every year, the commission plants a tree, so you get to see Lou Samaglia with a shovel in his hands. And you also get, we're doing a tree and plant giveaway for residents of the city of Coral Springs. So come on out. It's a really cool event. You walk around the Nature Center and you see all the different folks that are out there and all the different exhibits and everything. So please, if you can make it out there, we'd love to see you there from 9 to 1 on Saturday. And I did want to give you an update, and I know the city attorney has a more extensive update, but we did file the lawsuit that you all approved at one of our previous commission meetings against the state of Florida, the declaratory judgment action in the 17th circuits of Broward County last week. It has not been assigned a judge or a case number yet, but is going through the process, and I'll leave the rest to the city attorney. With that, if you need me, you can call me or text me at 954-778-3304. You can email me at ddaly@coralsprings.org or find me on any of the social media avenues. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Vignola.
I'm going to be very quick. At the meeting, stepped out of line to speak, come out here. Just wanted to let you guys know, I know we didn't have a lot of Team Political Forum kids at our meeting today, but I am very proud to say that a lot of them were here and spoke on behalf of themselves and the schools. And pretty proud of those kids. And that's it. With that, I'm going to hang up and go back inside. But thank you guys very much, and I hope everyone has a great evening.
Vice Mayor Samaglia.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, I want to thank the military for doing what they do so we can do what we do. And kudos out to police and fire. And while I'm on the police, our opioid program is moving forward beautifully. In fact, Sean Backer, Deputy Chief, and I went to our reports drug court, and it would take me 4 hours to explain how he impressed all of us in that room. But we're looking at the problem from different angles right now. We are very close to having our PSAs ready to go, public service announcements, and when we do, we're going to have it shown to the commission, and then we're going to open it up to the staff and the public. So the opioid program is moving beautifully. What else did I want to mention? That's about it. Oh, Memorial Day. The Veterans Coalition will be hosting the Memorial Day ceremony sponsored by the city over at Veterans Park on Royal Palm Boulevard. And we have an exciting guest speaker. How many here, there's not many people left, but how many here came to the first meeting, the first evening event when we had the Vietnam moving wall here? That gentleman that spoke that night, he did the first night, right, Dave? Lieutenant Colonel Steve Bettner, he will be our guest speaker for Memorial Day. And in case you didn't know, he mentioned it that day, of all the 58,000 names on that wall, 60-something, 65 or 66 of those names served under him at one time. So it's going to be a kind of an emotional event. But anyway, come on out. We're going to have a great time. I don't mean that we're going to be celebrating anything. We're just going to be talking about Memorial Day and those that pretty much gave all. You can contact me on my cell, 954-801-2004. My office hours are the first Monday of every month, 3 to 5, or anytime you need to see me, you can't make the office hours, you call me, and I will absolutely make time for you. 801-2004, and thank you, Mayor.
Commissioner Carter.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to congratulate again all our volunteers as we celebrate you this volunteer week and every day that you assist the city. I want to thank you so much because you're a big part of what makes Coral Springs great. I also want to do a big shout out and a thank you to Commissioner Daley. The Florida League of Cities will recognize Commissioner Daley at the 2018 Home Rule Hero Award. He earned this prestigious award for his outspoken protection for municipal home rule, preparing for and during the 2018 legislative session. That's not just impressive, that's the 4th time he has won this award. I want to thank you for your efforts during the legislative session as they were extraordinary. And in case you don't know what home rule is or have an idea, it is the ability for a city to establish its own form of government and enact ordinances, codes, plans, and resolutions without prior state approval. Congratulations on your honor,
Thank you,
Commissioner Daley. And lastly, I want to remind everybody that Unplugged will be our next celebration party for the city, and that'll be out here at the City Hall lawn from 6 to 10 next Saturday. Not this Saturday, next Saturday, the 28th, live music and art, and I would imagine food trucks. Okay, and if you need to reach me, my office hours are next Monday, and you can make an appointment for that or any other time, 954-998-4186. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Vignola, are you still on the phone?
No, he left.
All right, well, I wish he was still on the phone. I have gotten a number of comments on the Teen Political Forum about Mayor Hunchowski not getting invited to be on stage. And first, I want to apologize to Mayor Hunchowski. This is a program that City of Coral Springs has put on, but I think she needs an apology. And what I was told is that we notice it as a public meeting so that we're all protected from the Sunshine Law. Mayor Hunchowski informed me that she was at the forum that the Inspector General puts on for our ethics course, and she brought up the question, can 2 commissioners from the same city sit on a forum like the Teen Political Forum? And she was given the advice that it's totally 100% acceptable as long as they don't discuss what votes they might be taking on issues that might be brought before their commission. So I would ask our city attorney to give us a final version as to what you think we can do if we're ever put in that position. And I am told that Commissioner Vignola sought an opinion and was told that she could not be on the dais because Commissioner or Vice Mayor Kagan was on the dais. And again, this has presented some problems with some of our folks, but mostly Parkland residents who thought it was a terrible thing that we did not invite her mayor or their mayor. So for that, I apologize. And John, I would like to get an answer so that we all can know what we can do.
Sure, Mayor. I could do it right now. I didn't have any involvement. I don't know what happened or didn't happen there, but obviously the mayor there has an excellent city attorney that I don't know if he gave advice or not, but it doesn't matter.
As I understand it, no city attorney gave any advice because it was done so quickly.
Okay. Yeah. So
I didn't even know about it until I guess the day it was happening, and of course I couldn't be there for personal reasons.
So we notice anything that we know more than one commissioner is going to be at, if it's a municipal type issue, because at that meeting someone could have asked about how you feel about an issue that you might end up voting on. So we do that because we know it's happening and we want to be careful, but the law has not changed. The law simply is that you cannot, 2 or more of you cannot anywhere, whether it's Publix or on another meeting like that, have a discussion about issues that you are going to or conceivably could vote on. So it's based on what the conversation's about and who engages in the conversation. So two or more officials, if they have a discussion that is at a place that's not noticed as a meeting, and they discuss an item that's going to come to them or conceivably could for a vote, that would be a violation. So it's not, so in that case, as a hypothetical, provided that two or more elected officials of any city sat on a board that did not discuss an issue that could come in front of them or does come in front of them, there would be no sunshine law violation.
All right, well, anyway, you know, it's apparently has made some people question what happened, and I just want to apologize to everybody. I know Larry did not do anything intentional, and I'm not suggesting that, but, you know, we really should know about the answers to that. City Manager?
Mayor, we just have a brief presentation on downtown wayfinding sign concepts, so we can move forward with that.
Good evening. I'm Todd Mayfield. I'm the Group Creative Director
Pretty attractive, okay. Commissioner Daley.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Quick, couple questions. What is the timeline? What are we looking from here forward?
There's about 3 phases, and the first phase, of course, was the assessment. We've gone through that. This next phase is, we're getting through the conceptual and design phase. And we have about a month slated for that, with all things that work in its favor. If we get approvals on time, we should move very quickly. So after we get it designed, we'll go into documentation, which is scale drawings, which will be then equated to a bid set, which will then go out to bid.
So give me an idea on when they would be, the soonest that they would be installed, assuming everything's
Installed.
forward, yeah.
Fabrication, depending on the fabricator, usually takes between 12 and 20 weeks. There's a big variable there. It depends on who you use. But let's say 16 weeks, you get signs in the ground. That's if all things work out in our favor.
Okay. You know, here's I like it. I think we do need to have something that distinguishes. I seem to remember a couple of years back when the commission first saw the renderings for the downtown signage and all that kind of stuff. I'm supportive then, I'm supportive now. My only concern is with the timeline. For me, you know, we just put up the city hall, we just got everything open and operational. There are some redevelopment opportunities in the area, but they're not visibly changing yet. So to me, right, to pop up signage when literally the only thing we've got in the downtown at this exact moment that people can see and that is noticeable is this building, I think it's just going to add fuel to those that want to make up information about the city hall and everything else, right? So the joke would become, cool, here's this sign, where is the actual downtown? And I understand that we're trying to get people to develop a sense of place. My question is, are there other improvements that we can make that maybe are not as literally in your face as a sign that says downtown Coral Springs in the interim, right? Once let's say, God willing, the project next door breaks ground, right, and that building comes down, have at it. Put them up all over the place, right? My issue is I'd like some other visible cue prior to us doing that. That's just my take. I don't know where anybody else is. I also assume that the cost is going to be paid by the CRA. Is that correct? Okay, good. So I just want to be clear on that. The cost is being paid by the CRA, not City of Coral Springs, the CRA. Very good. And third, just a recommendation. I mean, I happen to like the backlit. I think if you're going to do it right. So for those options that are not easily powered, maybe I know there's an expense, there's always an expense, but maybe we can look at solar or something like that to be a little bit more green and effective. So all in all, I mean, I like it. I just have some initial concerns, but good work, and I appreciate everything you and the CRA and everybody have done.
Okay, great.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
I agree, the
City
timelines.
Manager, you got anything more?
No, sir.
All right, City Attorney.
Mayor, just very briefly, as Commissioner Daly did say, we filed our lawsuit on April 10th. We've not been assigned a judge because the clerk's office says they're behind and they're working on April 5th filings as of yesterday, so. Once they get
Is this our clerk of the courts?
Yes. So once
The
we
one
get,
who got elected who didn't have any experience?
Mayor, that's the clerk of our, yes, it's our clerk. So, just to confirm what the direction was and what happened, this is basically challenging the super preemption laws, and there's 9 counts, all involving property rights, due process rights, property rights of your elected official, how you could be removed, First Amendment rights. So the case is in. We're going to file an amended complaint. The City of Wilton Manors has asked to come in.
I don't want them out.
Yeah, you do. They've asked to come in. The cities have met, unless there is an objection, which I think we want to have the 4 cities. Each city has an elected official.
I was only joking.
I know you are, yeah. Each city has an elected official. So that will happen. That'll be helpful. And we'll be moving forward. So
Well, let me ask you a question. What about the venue question?
Well,
Who have we sued locally so we can keep it here in Broward County?
we have sued locally, Mayor Michael Satz, Brenda Foreman, Scott Israel. Those are the locals.
All right.
Also the governor and Pam Bondi yeah, so that's the locals, and we'd like to keep it here. Wherever it goes, we'll still proceed.
Well, I prefer keeping it here too.
Yeah, so and we think it should be here. So that's where we're at.
Okay,
And that's all I have.
adjourned.